So we are going to be covering Mercury debilitation, which occurs in Pisces. So let's get started with it and not waste time because it's a beautiful day and I want to go to the beach again so Yash can get me all the women possible. Actually, just don't tell that to Shell. So, debilitated Mercury in your horoscope. What is it and what does it mean? Well, Mercury is debilitated in Pisces. Okay, and first of all, what is Pisces? Pisces is your subconscious imagination. It actually is a pretty much imagination, the spiritual world, the peacefulness in your world that you look for within when you have chaos outside. Okay, Pisces is a sign that is represented by kind of a dual personality that just wants to move all the time. You know, Pisces people, their imagination goes here, then next minute goes here, then the other minute goes here. They're always like a fish that doesn't stop moving, because if it stops moving, it'll die. They're always constantly on the move. And they're very esoteric in their approach. They're very much like, I would say, a natural hippie of the zodiac, Pisces people. And then what is Mercury? Mercury is calculative communication, imagination, communication, intelligence. You know, it's about the real world connection, Mercury. And Mercury is about business, it's about commerce, you know. And so when Mercury comes into this world of the watery world of Pisces, the intelligence goes haywire. Because Mercury does not like being in water signs. Why? Because Mercury wants to think logically, realistically, and it wants to make realistic plan, because success does not happen by being constantly imaginative and lost in your esoteric world. Success is a result of logical, practical thinking and planning, which Mercury does. So when Mercury in water signs, you know, water signs are imaginative, they're creative signs. So although these people are extremely creative, they're some of the brilliant writers you will come up to. But here's the example. You have a brilliant writer who has written a novel, the most amazing, you know, novel ever. But for this person to get it out there to you becomes a big problem. For this person to either find an agent, to self-publish it, to market it, becomes one hell of a chore, because that requires real world thinking. That requires logical thinking. Okay, how do I plan this to go there? And a lot of procrastination comes in with Mercury in Pisces. Should I do it? Don't do it. Should I do it? Don't do it. Like if an agent calls them, they approach an agent that, hey, I'm interested, what's your book about? They will be very wary of that person, that, okay, I'm not going to tell too much to this person, because what if he finds out my idea and actually hires somebody to write what I'm writing, and then he has the ability to contact the publisher and he'll do this. So they'll just hide themselves. They won't tell too much of it, while the agent really needs to know all of it in order for him to help you, to really tell you that if your book is good or not. So this is where the problem comes in. They are very intelligent as far as the imagination is concerned. When it comes to implementation of that imagination into the real world, that's where it kind of becomes a problem for them. Mercury in Pisces is a person who has studied all the wisdom in the world. They might have read Bhagavad Gita, they might have read the Vedas, the Vishnu Puranas, they might have read the Bible, and then they try to preach everybody that, people, this is the wisdom, this is what things are. This is how they should be. While in reality, they themselves have not experienced that wisdom. But because they read it, because they were lost in the beautiful world of these spiritual texts, they mold themselves like the water molds itself into thinking that they just know these things, but they do not experience it. So let's say an astrologer starts practicing astrology, okay? And he reads it in a book that this is what Mercury debilitation does. But he has never experienced it. He probably never even went out and saw a chart that has Mercury debilitated. And so when he comes to the world and says, this is what Mercury debilitated is, okay, fine, that's what it is. But people don't realize that this person may not have really experienced what it's like to be hanging around with a person who's debilitated Mercury, how it's like, experiencing their world. But they will do that. So this is what the problem becomes. They are so lost into the spiritual and the esoteric side of life with their intelligence, but they forget to realize the practical side of this, which is to experiment it, test it, implement it, and then realize, okay, whatever these ancient texts of Parashara, Hora, Shastra are saying are what they are saying. But this is what some people say, they're a book rat astrologer. They're just reading it off a computer, reading it off something without experiencing it. Okay, so this is a very, easy and most profound explanation you can get of Mercury in Pisces. Now, are they very intelligent? Of course, they're intelligent, but that intelligence is just stuck. It's not able to fulfill its destiny. The imagination of that written word in the book is not able to get out to the people unless they hire a manager. These people should always have somebody helping them with the professional world, with the economic world, that say no, because they'll always be procrastinating and stuck into this world. So if somebody who has written the same novel across the world, they might get it out like that. While these people who first wrote that novel, their idea will never be, seen, and nobody will think of them as the original creator of that idea. Okay. Now, if a debilitation or cancellation of debilitation occurs in your birth chart, which is known as neecha bhang raj yoga, that's when this person can set a new boundaries to this imagination world that they have. Meaning that this person can go outside of all the realistic implementation of a successful business and actually create a successful business with their model that has not been dealt with yet. So that's what happens, which we'll discuss sometime in the future. Now, the only time Mercury can do well for you, if you have Mercury in Pisces without, let's say, having a cancellation of debilitation in Vedic astrology, which is known as neecha bhang raj yoga, is when Mercury is in the nakshatra of Revati, meaning it's sitting in its own constellation. There are 27 constellations working behind a zodiac sign. So one zodiac sign, which is 30 degrees long, they're divided into 2.5 parts, which each of those parts are ruled by different type of planets. Okay, so in Pisces, there are 3 nakshatras, Purva Bhadrapada, Uttara Bhadrapada, and Revati. So the first degrees are ruled by Jupiter, second degrees are ruled by Saturn, third degree is ruled by the third part, the end part of Pisces is ruled by Mercury. So when Mercury sits in its own nakshatra, it actually makes a person a lot more tolerable in their own mind when they have this in Pisces. But with Saturn, their intelligence is blocked. With Jupiter, who's the enemy of Mercury, makes them again think more spiritually, more of esoterically, because Jupiter rules this sign. And Jupiter is not a good friend of Mercury. So Jupiter actually puts more of his esoteric wisdom in this thing. Okay? So, my fellow people, this was my imagination. No, not my imagination, but my analysis on Mercury debilitation. If you're new to my channel, subscribe above, because you're going to be learning all of this good stuff. Probably you're mad at me right now for telling you this if you have this. But anyway, I'll do some good stuff for you in the future. Now, if you want to know more about astrology, check out my link below. Check out my book, The Astrology at the Speed of Light. Otherwise, I will see you on Monday. Bye-bye.